There's a saying about every election cycle, and is adequate, no matter where you are in the United States. And I'm sure it kind of fits in other countries too, but in United States, special situation where what's the term? American exceptionalism. This phrase fits very well. Lesser evilism. You hear it every election cycle. Well, they're all scumbags. They're all pieces of shit. They're all, I'm just going to have to find out which one's the lesser evil. Um, and it's very fitting to describe almost any Democrat or any Republican, whether it's in the municipal, the county, the state level, or national office, or the presidency, you name it. Uh, uh, Elections with judges. Lost my train of thought there. Where you can directly vote for somebody, and it's usually a Democrat or a Republican. That is just like choosing between dog shit and cat shit. It's still excrement at the end of the day for the majority of the Democrats and the majority of the Republicans. And I know that people get a little annoyed when there are people out there who has an independent thought that said, "Oh, there you go with that both sides again. You just can't go with both sides." Yes, you can. Most of the times, it's fucking both sides. Both sides, both parties, most political candidates are pieces of shit. Accept that. Democrat hacks, Republican hacks, accept that. Well, I'm going to say, although I am happy that Donald Trump is gone, and I am, there is also another saying that's still relevant. New boss, same as the old boss. Yes, I'm glad Donald Trump is gone from the presidency, but doesn't make me happy that I have to see Joe Biden in there, and more than likely Kamala Harris before too long. I didn't vote for either Trump nor Biden because that wasn't a choice either. Um, Maybe some things will be better with Biden, but I still see a whole lot of the same old status quo. And I'm warning Democrats, go with that status quo and give us that new normal in hyper overdrive. You're going to get another Donald Trump down the road, and he may be nastier than this Trump that we just dealt with for the past 4 years. I'm parched. But the worst event of election day on November 3rd, 2020, was the election of Marjorie Taylor Greene in the 14th congressional district up in Georgia. This woman is a conspiracy theorist. With her QAnon conspiracy of sex trafficking and and pedophile rings and satanic religious ceremonies and by high-powered Democrats. The anti-Semitic trope about how she embraced about how immigration is going to sit there and replace the white population with black and brown people, and it's orchestrated by powerful Jewish interests, or that Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar must swear on the Bible instead of the Quran, which is ridiculous because Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar are not Christians. So this sort of thing. And I like what Michael Figueredo said about this whole swearing on the Bible or swearing on the Quran business. Why not swear on the U.S. Constitution? Because we do have separation of church and state. I know for some of the Christian right, they're like, there's nothing in the Constitution about separation of church and state. But it does say, it talks about favoring one religion over the other in the First Amendment, which is prohibited. Um, and let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene's support for terrorism. The fact that she wants Nancy Pelosi murdered, the fact that she wants Barack Obama murdered and Hillary Clinton murdered, the fact that her campaign commercial, she was shooting at targets, implying that she wants to gun down members of Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and socialists. And let's face it, when these right wingers talk about socialism, they basically mean anything to the left of Ted Cruz. Everything they don't like is socialism. I mean, I wish they'll take a damn political science course. They don't have to support socialism, but they need to know what the meaning is instead of everything that makes me feel icky is socialism. Marjorie Taylor Greene is so horrible that she makes Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin look freaking mature in comparison. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten. That Michelle Bachmann and Sarah Palin are seen as mature in comparison. They're still out there. They're still nutty. They're still stupid. But next to Marjorie Taylor Greene, even Alex Jones next to Marjorie Taylor Greene makes Alex Jones look not so bad. That's how bad, that's how horrible Marjorie Taylor Greene is. That's how low it's gotten. And of course, her role for the insurrection on January 6th. I mean, let's I mean, it was an attempted coup. Yeah, I know those morons taking over or trying to take over the state capitol are not going to sit there and dictate orders, and we Americans going to follow it. But come on out. I mean, that was a coup of sorts. Um, and just I favor her being removed from the U.S. House, and shame on Congress for not her committee's assignments. Uh, then there's Liz Cheney, who got elected in 2016 in the Wyoming at-large congressional district. Now, she's the older daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. Strike one. She's an establishment corporatist. She's a typical foreign policy neocon. She's pretty much a movement conservative, which is a term that I like to see used more. And Kyle Kalinske used that term to describe everyone from George W. Bush to Ted Cruz to Steven Crowder to Ben Shapiro, anything that the establishment neocon mindset is fixated on. They're corporatists, they're foreign policy neocons, they're with the religious right. I mean, they're just everything that's horrible about the modern Republican Party, and in some ways more horrible than Donald Trump himself. But with George, the thing about it is Dick Cheney, the vice president under George W. Bush. So, Dick Cheney is a war criminal, just like George W. Bush. Do you think about during the presidency? During the presidency of Obama, Barack Obama, he couldn't keep his mouth shut, criticizing Barack Obama. And if you're going to criticize Barack Obama over his foreign policy during his 8 years, the criticism would have been more something I could respect if you would have said, well, why is Barack Obama just continuing the Bush Cheney foreign doctrine, maybe a little bit softer, instead of just outright getting rid of it and trying something absolutely new? If you're going to criticize Obama for being too much like Bush and Cheney. That's where you go. I mean, but anyway, I digress. But the one positive aspect of Dick Cheney, and there is one good thing about Dick Cheney, and I'm not being sarcastic or condescending, is that his younger daughter, Mary Cheney, who is a lesbian, has changed the position of Dick Cheney on the question of LGBTQ rights. Dick Cheney, his wife, Lynn Cheney, are full supporters of LGBTQ equality. So even amongst the worst of individuals, you can probably find something redeeming. And I know That's his daughter, and that came close to home. And you're gonna love your children. You're gonna love your family. No matter what, and that's what it came down to. But hey, at least on that one, I'll I'll say the Dick Cheney. I'll have something positive to say about him. But and even Dick Cheney's older daughter, Liz Cheney, is not even good on that question. She doesn't accept the fact that her younger sister Mary is a lesbian. But again, I can say one thing good about Liz Cheney. She was right to go and vote on this second impeachment of Donald Trump. Now, for that, his role with the January 6th insurrection. The Wyoming Republican Party has censured her. They're going to try to impose payback on her for not being a sycophant for Donald Trump. I mean, and as I said many times, while I still hate George W. Bush, still to this day more than Donald Trump, I find myself in a predicament that the fact that the GOP will punish Liz Cheney for voting for Donald Trump's impeachment. The fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene had virtually half of the Republican caucus giving her showering ovation of applause and praises. The fact that I mean, the fact that there were double standards that goes on. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez tepidly stands up against Nancy Pelosi. Doesn't really do anything other than that little sit in her office back in early 2019. That was about it. But because Nancy Pelosi hates AOC, and there was talk about this forced vote, what have you, even though they didn't do it, the Democratic Party punished AOC by stripping her of her committee's assignments. Yet Marjorie Taylor Greene is allowed to keep her um, committee's assignments in spite of the political violence. AOC never harmed anybody. She doesn't want to harm anybody. Marjorie Taylor Greene wants to kill her political opponents. And then when they accuse Ilhan Omar of making anti-Semitic remarks just because she's a Muslim woman that complained about the American Israeli Political Action Committee, APAC, and all she said it was all about the Benjamins, implying it's just money. It's just money that's being involved. It's a special interest group, just like all other kinds of special interest group up in DC. If it was anti Semitic, wasn't even really anti-Israel per se, but it is but that's all it took for demagogues to find a Somalian woman who is Muslim to go and say, well, look at her, she's an anti-Semite. Yet when Marjorie Taylor Greene talk about a Jewish satellite in outer space shooting space lasers into the California forest to start fires, or that Jews are using black and brown people to replace white people in the population, when I hear that, it to me, I think that's wackier, way wackier than the APAC comment. You can have a debate about APAC, whether it's good or bad. Good people, whether they're right or wrong, can have a debate on that. Can't respect anybody who's talking about shooting a satellite from outer space, a Jewish satellite, to start a forest fire, or in California, or that Jews are being they're using black and browns to remove white people from the population. That is just absolutely wacky talk from Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Ilhan Omar, she wants to give people health care. Marjorie Taylor Greene, well, what can I say? But here, and again, speaking of healthcare, when Congressman Alan Grayson down in Florida said about a decade ago that the GOP wants people to either pay for healthcare or die, his fellow Democrats denounced him for standing up against the GOP. But when Joe Wilson of South Carolina, Congressman yelled at Obama at his State of the Union address over health care. He shouted, "You lied!" And what did they do to Joe Wilson? They tapped him on the wrist. There's a double standard. If relatively progressive Democrats do anything, they get shit on. When kooky right wing Republicans do kooky right wing things, they just get no more than just a little smack on the wrist. I'm tired of that. This double standard. Now, if she can't be removed from Congress, I'm talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I think that the Democrats and any Republican who's decent should go and try to remove Marjorie Taylor Greene. But if they can't, and I don't know how this could be done, this could be constitutionally done, I think that the U.S. House of Representatives should look at the Louisiana state legislature and deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the same way that the Louisiana state legislature dealt with David Duke when David Duke won in 1989 in the 81st district, where he served from 1989 to 1992. Yes, he served a full term as a representative in the Louisiana legislature, but they did not record his votes. They did not record his speech. The cameras were not pointed there. He was not acknowledged. In other words, he was there and he was invisible. He was just there. He was just an empty body. They did not recognize David Duke at all in the Louisiana legislature. That's how you deal with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And if it's within a constitutional guidelines, you can get away with that. And even I would like for it to be bipartisan. I like to think that there are Republicans who have enough decency, but we know how far off the rails the Republicans are. Democrats are garbage, but Republicans are a bigger pile of garbage. Both parties are bad, but I think that not acknowledging her existence would be the way to do this. And and it will demoralize the people in that district until a more mature Republican could run. I won't hold my breath about a mature Republican, but I digress. But anyway, that's just my thoughts right there. And as much as I dislike Liz Cheney, damn, she's a lesser evil to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She really is. And my one of my old friends from the Socialist Party USA was telling me earlier this evening, Tina Phillips. She was telling me all shades of terrible though, and it is. Liz Cheney. I mean, yeah, Liz Cheney and Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's like all shades of terrible. Never true words has been spoken. But anyway, that's just my thoughts about this whole thing. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation either way. Share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform or don't have a platform, do create a platform, especially if you're passionate about whatever subject there is at hand, and utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time. In spite of the demonetizing that YouTube is doing on left-wing channels, we are the muckrakers of our time, and we must still continue to spread the news that powerful media interests are not doing themselves. Hit that notification bell, subscribe, and until next time, peace. And Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.